When I'm on stream and in YouTube comments, I frequently get asked if all the work and effort I put into the Hideout is worth it. For me, it only took a quick look 2 years ago to see all the value that the Hideout adds to my gaming experience. I've got all of my modules upgraded. I have max Hideout skills, which believe me isn't easy to get. This way you can see all the value it adds, what you get out of it, what I get out of it for the most part, and you can make the decision yourself if you want to push for it, if you want to deal with it, or if you just want to continue to ignore the Hideout. So let's dive in. We'll start at the entrance. Keep in mind, again, that I have max Hideout skills. So what you're going to see is going to be completely different in here than if you don't have them with a lot of stuff. And I'll talk about them specifically when we get there. And I'll talk about the skills as well so you understand better. Now, first off is security. Nothing special here. This is just a hurdle, a progression, milestone, whatever you want to call it. You use it to upgrade other things in the Hideout. You don't get anything out of it other than maybe a cool door and this camera that you can see a Bible salesman or vacuum cleaner salesman hanging out outside or something. One thing I can mention real quick, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I have a cursor here on my screen that's kind of annoying, right? If that happens to you, real quick and easy fix, tab, it goes away and you're back to normal. So next up, we'll talk about the Scav case. This is one of the end game kind of deals that you get out of the Hideout. It takes a while to get to it, but once you get to it, it gives you 5 options here. These are your choices. You got 3 money, 1,000, 7,000, 8,500. Then you can do a folder of intel or a moonshine. Folder of intel is usually best for doing things like if you're looking for keys, it's usually what you want to do. It drops tons of keys, and moonshine is good for rare items and streamer items. The 3 things I tell people to run is if you want keys, run intel. If you want streamer items or stims, run moonshine. And if you want to try to make money, run 85K. A lot of people disagree. A lot of people agree. It's totally random. It's a gamble. So there is not a lot of certainty in this because all it's got to take is you get 1 green key card and everything changes with how much money you made out of it. So I'm going to start my moonshine here. You'll notice this says 2 hours and 48 minutes. When I hit start, it goes right to 1 hour 45. That is a combination of my skills and some of the other stuff like Scav Karma with Fence. Now, walking out the door on the left, we have our stash. It looks pretty, it's a max stash if you have EOD. It's just your character screen and everything you have. This gets bigger as you upgrade it. Again, if you have EOD, you're all the way at level 4 already. You start off that way. It's super handy. It's one of the best things about EOD. If you're non-EOD, I guess kind of good luck because you're kind of screwed. It's 2.5 million rubles to get to level 2 plus a bunch of gear. It's another 8.5 million rubles to get to level 3 plus a bunch of other items. And then to get to level 4, it's 200,000 euros plus a bunch of other items, which that's like 29 million rubles if you buy them straight from Skier. If you sell shit, you can do like 26 million, but it's a lot of stuff to sell. Now, this is going to be a good point for me to bring up here, Vents and Illumination. I'll back out to show you those and we're going to look up. You got Vents. Again, this is just another thing that is a milestone hurdle in the Hideout. You got to upgrade it to upgrade other things. And it's kind of the same thing with Illumination. It doesn't do anything bonus-wise or crafting, but it does allow you to change your lights, which I do from time to time as a content creator. I'll turn on these lights because it lights up certain modules better. You can see here way better than when we had the overhead lights on, but then places over there work better with the other overhead lights. You can also turn off the icons if you so desire, like I have here for screenshots and things. If you want to do that by hitting I turns those off. I think it's like icons or something if I had to guess. Now right here on the opposite side we have solar. This is another one of the very end game late kind of things to get, and it's really expensive. I do a whole video on this if you want to watch it where I dive into deeper detail and do math on it. By itself saving you fuel costs, it's not worth it. It won't save you enough fuel throughout an entire while. Even if you built it on day 1, I don't think it even saves you enough money with fuel to pay itself off. But it is required for Bitcoin level 3. And if you do that, it pays itself off. But the bonus itself is basically 50% reduction in fuel consumption. When they first did the Hideout skills, Hideout management affected this. It doesn't anymore. It just fixes it 50%. And it costs 74,000 euros to upgrade. That's the expensive part with some of the other stuff, a couple million in parts, phased arrays, things like that. Then right next to that, the piece that it affects is the generator. We'll look at this here, show you something kind of cool with it. If I did this right, you'll see I have 8 slots. Most level 3 generators only have 6. Hideout management, max Hideout management gives me 2 additional, so I have 8. And we'll look right here. If I put in full 8 fuel cans, it gives me 449 hours of fuel. Now grabbing our handy calculator, if we do 449 hours divided by 24, that's 18.7 days. I can go almost 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks, and not touch a generator. But anyways, generator is affected also by hideout management, so it reduces your burn rate on top of the solar panel 50%. So that puts you at 56 hours and change for a full fuel metal can. So hideout management, it's maxed, elite levels 51. It provides, as its elite thing, you get 2 slots for fuel canisters, which we saw there. You get 2 slots for filters in your water filter storage, which we'll talk about that when we get there, but instead of 1, you have 3. In the FP100 filters, the air filtering unit, you get 5 instead of 3. And then it raises your Bitcoin storage from 3 to 5, which again, we'll talk about that when we get there. And then on top of that, you get your 50% increase to your bonuses from your hideout zones. And as we go through those, we'll look at them. But basically, if you have a bonus that says, let's say it gives you 10% of something, it now becomes 15%. So it can be a big deal on some of these bonuses we'll talk about later. And then on top of that, it decreases the burn rate of fuel and your filters by 25%. To do the same amount of work, it uses up less of the filter, and then it just lowers the burn rate of the fuel, basically. Now, to level up hideout management and stuff, it boils down to having things running, burning fuel and using filters levels it up, having things crafting levels it up. I do a whole video explaining hideout skills and how to level them up, how to power level them, how to do it and make money. So go watch that if you're interested and you want to get here. It's a lot of work. It takes a ton of time and it can be expensive, but it is 100% worth it in my opinion. It's just a long, hard trudge. Just keep in mind, this video, it's December 1st right now when I'm shooting this of 2021. BSG does like to tweak this stuff. They change it around. So make sure you double check. Don't take this for the gospel because it could change any week. Now, getting back into the hideout, we will run over to the nutrition unit. This is where you craft food, obviously. You can see it in here, amongst other things. But it also has some bonuses. So this energy rate, energy and regeneration rate, health regeneration rate, and hydration regeneration rate. Man, I'm mushing words together. It gives you, with bonuses and everything, I'm 54, 48, and 18 on those. These are your totals. So a bunch of different modules give a bunch of different, or give a bunch of the same bonuses, and it all adds up. So basically what this means is in an hour and a half hour, I could regenerate my health from 0 to full for when I get team killed by my teammates because they don't pay attention to what they're doing. Or for energy regeneration rate, when you don't eat, it takes about a half hour, a little more than a half hour to regenerate from a usual rate if I don't eat something, which helps if you get a little bit of downtime or something, you're not spending money on food and healing. You can, if you're going to be 20 minutes, there's no reason to heal at the end of the raid because your hideout's going to heal you up anyways. One of the big things about the nutrition unit, especially early on in your gaming cycle, I could say early wipe, but if you start late wipe, there's a lot of quest items in here. Things like there's lunch boxes, the Tashankas, and the Wilstons are all quest items. And there's a lot of barter items in here. I'm crafting Dan Jackiels now because I'm going to be doing another thick case barter here pretty soon. And then there's some other things, different times of the wipe you can make money. Slicker's bar, craft a ton of those for the barter with Jaeger for the scav vests. But that's kind of the limit of the nutrition unit. It doesn't usually make you much money. There's a few periods in the wipe that it does, but it's mostly utility station. Sliding over to the nutrition unit, the air filter. We're leaving the nutrition unit, going to the air filtering unit. Now I only have one in here. I have max strength and endurance, which was the biggest reason I was running this, but and getting leveling up hideout skills. So I usually just kept this full. Until now I just put one in once a day when I'm playing because it burns constantly. There's no way to turn it off. There's no way to stop it once you put one in there without turning your entire hideout off, which I never do anymore. I don't do it because my Bitcoin farm's running. But what it does, it gives you a boost, a leveling boost to your physical skills. So that's things like strength and endurance. Obviously, you can go up here if you didn't know, go to physical, and these are all your physical skills. So strength, endurance, metabolism, you can see I've got those maxed out. Health is close, but it slows down a bunch. Because it levels up with an endurance, and once endurance is maxed, it stops leveling up. It's harder to level health. Vitality, stress resistance, and immunity, all of these can be affected by this filter. Outside of that, it doesn't do anything to any other skills. Now we will rotate here around to the heating unit back in here, or heating space, whatever it's called. It's your little stovey deal. This one is just bonuses. You don't craft anything here. It gives you more, it adds 22 an hour to that energy regeneration rate, as well as helps remove negative effects. The remove negative effects isn't a huge deal. It can matter, but for the most part, this is going to really come into play if they do ever add things like addiction for using lots of stims, like some of us do sometimes, and for the cultist effect. Their poison persists through the raid. You don't just lose it if you get out. So you've either got to pay to heal it, you got to use Augmentin or the Stim, or you gotta wait for your hideout to go through, which can take a while. Obviously, it depends on your skills and what you have upgraded, because this isn't the only one, but those are the two out of the heating unit. Right next to that, we have the library. This is kind of one of the really good bonus stations to get early on. At least I try to, because it gives you additional raid experience and helps your practical skills load. So we'll go hop at the practical skills here real quick and look at those. Same kind of deal. You can filter this by practical. You've got your weapon maintenance and your hideout skills. Again, a good reason to push it. But on top of that, your covert movement, mag drill, search, and surgery. Some people really care about search and covert movement. Makes you quieter, and searching fast helps get through loot containers and things like that quite a bit when you're in raid. It's super handy to have. Just kind of depends on what you want to do. But if you have your library, you level those faster. Now, one thing I suggest you guys do, it's kind of fun. You get your hideout upgraded. Just go poke around. There's all sorts of little, I don't know if you want to call them Easter eggs. I guess they are, but there's things in here that are fun to look at. Like there's a bunch of copies of Unity for absolute beginners in here, which is kind of a joke for BSG, I think. And then some other stuff they stick around, like art. Like we've got art, but that's the rest space, which I guess we'll talk about that. And this is where you get a ton of bonuses. Again, you see that negative effects removal rate, and then energy, health, regeneration. Once you get this thing to max, you get this maximum energy reserve, which on your character, we'll go look at that real quick, is here, which is why I have 110. It's not really all that game changing. It's kind of handy, but that's where it comes from, is right there. And something I didn't do for you guys, I should have done, but if you're in your hideout and you pull your headsets off, it makes the sound quite a bit better. I have my TV and radio turned off just because of the noise. I'm in here a lot doing stuff for videos, and I don't want that background noise. But you can turn your radio on, and you can turn a TV on, and it'll play a little show. Nikita has talked about in the past about maybe doing game updates through this stuff, or some other places, to where like on the TV you might see, you know, therapist's message about being out of Salewas, or Fence does something. You know, the messages they do on Twitter now, they've talked about putting them through the TV and some other things. The Halloween event, they actually put a different one on here, which was pretty cool. But those are their little interactive things you can do. But we'll move over to the Medstation next. And this is one of the early cycle in wherever you get into Tarkov. It's really important to get, because it gives you access to meds that you wouldn't normally have, plus the Salewa craft, which you need to do early tasks, and some players have trouble finding those Salewas. This is one of those things to go out right away. It does provide bonuses. This is where one of your biggest bonuses is at level 3. You can see I got 260 hit points an hour. You know, you're leveling 30 your health just because this alone, every half hour. And this is just so you don't have to worry about healing after every raid if you don't want to think about it. Sometimes I don't, and it bites me in the ass because I go into the next raid and I'm hurt, and sometimes it doesn't matter. But for crafting, it's got pretty much across the board utility, and then profit, and then tasks. And right now you can see I'm crafting actually a LEDX, which a lot of people do. This thing takes me a little over 24 hours because of my skills. I'm doing that right now because of one of the end game tasks for therapist. I've got to hand her 5 LEDXs, so this one's doing, I'll do 2 more. Find another ophthalmoscope, I can turn that in. But same thing with defibs. They are changing these crafts quite a bit and adding to them. They just recently added a couple, change the grizzly craft, things like that. So keep an eye out for changes that make them more profitable, make them more useful, make them easier for you to do. Now, I could have done this earlier. I'll just do it now. We can talk about it. Do I have anything crafting? So yeah, we got that. We got the LEDX crafting, and I will craft, let's craft pile of meds. Let me buy myself an Augmentin here real quick. And of course it's been purchased already. And we'll start Augmentin. And this is what max crafting gives you. Aside from making your crafts much faster, I can craft 2 things at once in all of my stations that are regular crafting stations. This doesn't work at the booze generator. It doesn't do anything at Bitcoin farm or the Scav case or the water collector, but everywhere else I can craft 2 items at once, you know, basically if it has a screen like this. And we'll go look at the crafting skill real quick. That's what the elite ability is to craft 2 objects at once. It does reduce the cyclic production time and the crafting time by 37.5%. So really big long crafts, like some of the stuff in the Intel Center or some of the cases, really get a huge cut taken out of them in the amount of time it takes to craft. And some of these others, it'll bump them down to like less than 30-minute crafts, which is really good for raids. 30-minute crafts are really good for between raids because that's about where you're at with a raid. So you're always got your hideout working and you're always recycling and making as much money as you can. This levels up with crafting specifically. So you get a bonus when its craft starts, when it finishes, and while it's crafting, there's all these things that go into points. They're always tweaking them. They're always changing them. When it first showed up, I was able to get max hideout skills in like 2 weeks. Then they changed it, and it just took me like 5 months. I didn't play hard through the whole wipe, but it took me almost the whole wipe to get this leveled up. I did see some people that were doing about 2 months. Again, more detail on that in another video if you want to go check that out. Now we'll slip over to the booze generator. This is kind of one of the more, I don't want to say controversial crafts, but it's hard to make money with. Obviously, the higher you get your skills up and the lower your flea market fee gets, and the cheaper you get your components, you can make money with it. It's a big ticket item. It's great to craft for thick cases. This is the cheapest way you're going to get a thick case most of the wipes. Sometimes it's the LEDX barter, but this one is, for a lot of the time, is this barter, the booze barter that you have to do moonshine, vodkas, and whiskeys. And I also run my Scav case nonstop now. I only need a Willer Z wallet, and I've been running a Scav case for 2 months to get a Willer Z wallet, and I have about 15 Veritas picks, I don't know, 9 clean lubes, and several other streamer items that just won't give me that damn Willer Z wallet. We'll see. Hopefully I can get it before the wipe and can say I've got a cap at every one of my wipes, but we'll see. Integrated with that is the water collector. I don't have anything in here now because I wanted to show it to you. You got your bonuses here for your 52 water points per hour. So this is where it all stacks up into that 132. Without max hideout skills, you only have one here. So when your filter runs out, it stops, right? So the next day you'll come in and your thing will be 80% done and you got to throw another filter in here. Well, for me, I just throw 3 filters in here and I can always keep this running. And as these run out, it just rolls over to the next one. So I just got to collect. And then when I usually don't let the last one run out, I let it run out this time so I could do this thing for the video for you guys. I'm usually throwing 1 or 2 in here, and it takes several days before I start even eating into this one. Just kind of how it works. Next up is the Bitcoin farm. So I got 50 cards in. Yes, this updates as you put cards in, if you didn't know, or if you pull a card out, it'll pull it out. I have all 50 cards in here. It's right around, it's a little over 13 hours. I think it's like 13.3 for 50 cards to make 1 Bitcoin. A lot of math involved with this. There's a lot of variables. I did a ton of calculations on this. I did in a separate video. Go check that out. It'll decide for you. If you don't have Bitcoin now, I wouldn't be worrying about it unless you want to just do it for fun and you have a bunch of extra money lying around, because we're probably at the end of the wipe. The interesting thing to keep in mind, though, is if you get found and raid cards, you can take them out. I've already done it. I've already gotten all my found and raid cards and sold them and replaced them with non-found and raid as I died with them in raid or whatever, or got them cheap, different things. But you can take the cards out of the Bitcoin farm here. I'll just take 2 out real quick and you can see them. And they are in your inventory right here. If those were non-found and raid, I could sell those. It doesn't take away their found and raid status when they're in there. So a lot of people will fill their graphics card early on with found and raid cards. And then they, as they get through the wipe, they will take the found and raid cards out and sell them and put the non-found and raid in, and you make a bunch of money and have a bunch of profit with that. And then on top of all of that, because of max hideout skills, I have 5 instead of 3, which just means I can, what's that? 13, I should just be able to do this math in my head. 13 times 5 is 65 hours. So I can go almost 3 days and not touch it and not worry about losing out, because once it fills up, it stops generating Bitcoins. So you don't want it to fill up. You want to log in and take your Bitcoins out. Unless you really don't care, then do your thing. Now the Intel Center, that's up next. It's right next to it here. This is probably one of the biggest priority modules for me to get to. And it's not because of crafting or anything like that. It's really handy. The tasks that you can get done because you're crafting in here, it saves you a lot of time from hunting random items in raid. But these bonuses are probably some of the most powerful bonuses. They're not. They are the most powerful bonuses in the hideout that you can get. And they're only magnified by hideout skills. This is one of the reasons I push people to do it. If you're not a scav guy, the first one doesn't matter for you. But reducing your scav cooldown timer by 52%, almost 53%. And on top of that, you get the one from fence raiding if you run tons of scavs. I think when I do a scav run, I can go into factory. I could practically run straight through the map. And I have like 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes before I can run my next scav. I've had times where I'll do a scav run, and by the time I get all my inventory cleared out of the scav because I had a good loot run, my scav's ready again and I can go right back in for another one. So that it's a great way to generate a bunch of money. Next up with that is the quest money reward boost. So it wasn't as big of a deal until this most recent wipe cycle of patch, because eventually quests, you stopped getting them and you didn't get money out of them, especially with the level 3 Intel Center, because you got a lot of your quests done before you got there. But now with daily and weekly tasks, we can go look here. I'll show you on my tasks, my operational tasks, things like this one here. I'm getting 690,000 rubles, and that is affected by that stat. that bonus, that increases that. So it can pay big dividends in the long run with dailies and weekly tasks as you go through a whole wipe. You're just going to get that much more money from those rewards. And then after that is the insurance return time. A lot of people don't care about this too much because it doesn't matter. For me as a streamer, it's great because I'll get done with a stream at the end of the night and I'll get my gear back often before I get back on stream if I stream the next day. So I'm not having to deal with full inventories of insurance returns. I can clear all that up off stream and deal with it. For somebody else, like if you're doing a therapist and you have this at 30%, I've gotten stuff back from her in like 8 hours. Like start of the day I die, insurance, and I'll get it back before the streams at the end of the stream the same day. Leave it to you if you care about that or not. But the last one is probably one of the craziest things here, and that's the flea market commission. I think this is something a lot of people don't realize how much money this matters in a total wipe. And then on top of that, you have the crafts. Again, being able to craft 2 things in the Intel Center is really cool because I just cycle thumb drives and Intel now constantly, just constantly crafting those back and forth. Works great, makes good money. I could do VPXs or other stuff. This is just how I like it because it's easy now, and I'm kind of tired of crafting after leveling, so I just want easy crafts. But you can craft some of these longer crafts and make decent money in here. Big hits, it doesn't make much per hour because the crafts are so long, but the big profit hit each time it does is pretty nice to have. And then, like I said before, you've got a bunch of these that are great for tasks. You know, you don't have to find a CFDM or a Vertex or VPXs, graphics cards. All of those go find in raid tasks. You can craft that stuff here and turn it in. Now, next to this is probably one of my favorite crafting stations. Just because of how many crafts are on here, it's fun to dig around in this and find different ways to make money and min-max, if you will. That's what I have. I have fun do that. It's the Workbench. This has the most crafts in the Hideout. There are almost 40 in here, I believe. And there's tons of money. There's dozens of ways to make a lot of money here. No ways, there are bad ways, but it's not that one way is any better than another. It's just what you get good at, what you have components for. If you get stuff non-found in raid, you get stuff from quests. Kind of depends on what you want to do. On top of that, you've got quest items that you can craft here. You know, like one of the big ones is this battery to do the task with therapist. You take a military battery, cut it down into 5 of these batteries, and there's points where you can actually make money doing this because car batteries are worth so much, and the military batteries are driving that price. And then with that, you get utility because again, you can craft some of the best ammos in the game. So you can get them cheaper, you can get them in more quantity, because some of these can be pretty hard to come by, like M61. But if you're crafting them constantly, you can feed that big expensive gun, Chad Slayer 5000, whatever it is you want to call it, with the best ammo in the game if you so desire. Or you can be one of those KS23 guys and build star rounds. But I hope you're not one of those people because that's just evil. I don't know who runs around and shoots people with KS23s and flash rounds. Awful thing to do to people. But then after that, like I said, you've got profit. That's the biggest thing I craft. Right now, I've been crafting tons of wires. So we'll start that craft right there. And then BP. I craft 500, 600, 700 stacks of BP, and then I list it at night for a really high price, and somebody always buys it, and I make a ton of money. And that's where I'm at with the Workbench. I do have a couple of videos as well. I didn't mention this yet. I do frequently update and tell you what to craft to make the most money. I do crafting profit guides, if you will. Go through each module, do it. I've also got a couple of videos on the different modules and what the best crafts in them are, not just on profit, but utility and things like that. So don't hesitate to check those out. We'll run over to the lavatory. We'll take a quick peek at our friend in the bathroom there. And you can't see anything. Turn the lights on so you can actually see this. Still kind of sucks, you can't see much. There's a weird thing here at the sink where this toothpaste is like a giant sized toothpaste person. Just little glitches in the game that happen. But your lavatory, where you have a big trash can and a porta-john, is somewhere where you can build, septic bandages, because that makes sense, and cleaning supplies, as well as armor, things like that. Make fun of it, but the lavatory is actually a really good station because it's the only one in the hideout that doesn't require power. You can turn your generator off or not have one built. Like when you first start and you have a level 1 lavatory and don't have a generator, you don't have fuel, you can craft in here. So it gives you access to some low-level things, utility, bandages, things like that. And there are a ton of quest items you can craft in here. Things like these mags for ice cream cones if you're having trouble there. The black rocks, the blueberry backpack was a big addition. Used to be if you had a blueberry backpack and you were running around as a scav, you got chased across the map because everybody needed one of those for that ragman task. Now you can just craft it, so it's no big deal. You can make fuel. There's a couple of cases you can make. I usually do this craft here and this one here, just because, again, I've gotten to be where I'm lazy. I can just buy these things really easy, turn them into quick profit. It's not the most profitable craft, but it's easy. That's what I'm doing right now. The other thing is this is used to level your hideout skills the most. It's got some of the fastest crafts in here with the gas mask and the bandages and stuff. So I crafted a ton of stuff in here to help level up my crafting skill, and that's what its value was. Now, the last module we have here at the end, it doesn't really do much as far as productivity, if you will. You walk up to the range and you get this little try out your weapon, and if you've got a gun and ammo, it'll let you bring it out and you can shoot and you can test out things and you can reload and try different ammos. You know, you can do things like see how much sway there is on a sight, whatever you want to do. You can see what it looks like with NVGs on, heart your content, you know, flashlights, the whole 9 yards. Your gun's going to operate just like it does if it's in raid, all of those kind of things. The sets, what you do here doesn't save, it resets. And once you leave, you know, you have all your ammo. You know, I didn't shoot any ammo. It gives you your ammo back. It doesn't burn it up unless it's bugged, which it sometimes can be. That's what it's for. It's great to test out stuff, make sure your gun build is right, and that there's no weird things. Like when you used to have optic issues, it was a good place to come and make sure your scopes were looking right. But that's pretty much what it is. There's not a lot of utility for like sighting things in, maybe checking height over bore or something weird, but that's about it for the gun range. So for the hideout, talking a little bit about it, I focus it right away. It's one of the first things I go after. I'm always looking to get the items for it and get things rolling, because some of these take days to upgrade. Part of that's because I want to create content on it. The faster I get it up, the faster I can make content, the faster I can see new crafts, things like that. But I also really, really enjoy the hideout. It means a bunch to me. I have fun in here. I like doing this stuff. I hope you get that way too, because there's a ton of value and a ton of utility in here. It does get hung up on traders a little bit. Things like water collector, you know, you need to have Jaeger level 3, Workbench 3, you need to have mechanic level 3. And then the solar power, you have to have Peacekeeper 4 just to even upgrade them. So there is a little bit of a hang up if you're not leveling up your traders. You can't just blow through and upgrade everything. You do have to level up and do tasks and all that stuff. But when you take the bonuses into account, especially at the library and the Intel Center, and then the profits you can make and the tasks items you can get crafted early so you're not hung up and stonewalled because you can't get through a task because of an item, is just worth more than anything for me, than even the money that you can make in here. And speaking of the money, right now, if I push really hard, if I go buy a bunch of components really cheap, like I spent a half hour, fill up 2 Scav junk boxes full of components that I need, you know, cables and stuff to make circuit boards and slickers and just all these different things, I can push almost 400,000 an hour. And I'm not even being exaggerative, because I can craft 2 stations. I can make about 400,000 an hour in a hideout. It's hard. Most people aren't going to be able to do it, but it's there. It's available. Now, if you're somebody who's lazy, let's say, or doesn't want to do the hideout, you should still be crafting stuff. Even if you just do 1 craft a day, let's say you go pick the most profitable single craft you can do in each of the modules, and that's all you craft, you're still going to make somewhere between 250 and 300K each time you do that. So let's say you do that twice, there's another 500K that's sitting in your bank account that you didn't have to go get. That's like finding a Bitcoin in a raid. Who doesn't want to do that? And it's definitely a long-term play though. And just crafting and doing stuff like that levels up your hideout skills passively, gives you more bonuses. And all of that good stuff comes from just a little bit of work and effort in the hideout. But again, don't hesitate to go check out my other crafting videos where I do much more in depth on how to make money in each of these modules. And I update them as the wipe goes on, because prices are fluctuating and things are changing. And on top of that, I do more guides diving into each of the modules. So we'll wrap it up there. I hope it was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in Tarkov.